podsters and podlars, and welcome to Cazza and Tracy Talk Gavin and Stacey. I'm Tracey.
And I'm Caroline, but you can call me Cazza.
And we're friends who, like Gavin and Stacey, met online in the noughties. We connected over small humour, over how life is funny in the minutiae of things, and we also found that we like to read and watch many of the same things. And one of those things was Gavin and Stacey, which is a show that also celebrates small humour, kindness and bluster, and people being magnificently themselves in all their flawed glory. And now that the show is having its one last hurrah with a final Christmas special, we thought we'd rewatch it all, remind ourselves why we loved it, and find out whether we still do. So we're up to Season 1, Episode 4, and let's begin with Tracy's Tracy. So the episode starts, as they all do, with the phone call between Gavin and Stacey, and they're discussing Smithy and Nessa and their recent cornication, and thank you for the new word from last week. And the call ends with, and Stacey rings back with a joyful, "I love you." The focus of this episode is on wedding preparation, most of which is centred around the wedding fair in Barry, but also includes a lovely scene with Gavin asking Smithy to be his best man, and Stacey and Nessa talking about Nessa's role as bridesmaid. So they're all in Barry for the wedding fair. And it's true, I am a funeral celebrant, but I'm not a wedding celebrant for a reason, and I've never been to a wedding fair. But the Barry wedding fair includes all the things I expect you'd expect, with stalls for everything you could need, starting with wedding dresses, moving to lingerie, cars, cakes, photographers, entertainers, and the organiser of sleazy bucks parties in Europe. The busyness of the wedding fair concluded, the shipmen spend the night in Barry, and the next day they all have to go to church to get the banns read. There's an odd and awkward moment between Gavin and the priest, and the shipmens leave for Essex. The episode ends with Nessa telling Stacey that she's late, meaning that she might be pregnant. So that's what happens, but I'm interested to hear what you think this episode is about.
All right. So, well, look, I think there's a very big swing at the awfulness of the wedding industry, and just how many dodgy people, like that terrible magician who Bryn's entranced by, who just chews gum the whole time that Bryn's talking to, and all the, expense and getting sucked into needing a really fancy car or a horse and carriage for it. Just, I think, a really big swing at that, and I'm all for that.
Me
and
too.
I guess, I guess there's a good hard look at the gendered wedding behaviour as well. The girls are all pretty much lovely and looking at lovely, pretty things, and the boys are just being a little bit. Oh, it's a real trope, isn't it? Men, we just do the cars and the top hats.
And the bucks night.
Yeah. But I guess we're seeing a little bit of Nessa's vulnerability in this episode, which is nice because, for most of the show she's just unbreakable and just very confident. So I don't know, I quite like seeing her vulnerability. What about you?
Well, you're actually more generous in your interpretation of it than me. There's a few scenes that I like the car ride with Mick and Pam and Smithy and Gavin as they're going over to Wales, for one example. But this is probably my least favourite episode, and I rewatched it actually twice just to see if it just doesn't grab me. I mean, it's an obvious setting for a series that's set around a wedding. But it's just a little bit, for me, it's just a little bit of a plot placeholder. It's like a way to keep the momentum going towards the wedding. There was a couple of nice moments, and like you say, it is a nice swipe at the wedding industry, but I don't know. It wasn't really anything for me.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, but I guess this show is about a very, in a sense, traditional relationship that they are. They do get engaged, they do get married, and it's all about true love. But within that, they sort of examine, not in depth, but they're opening up the discussion about the awfulness of the wedding industry and, And then there's that whole, all the other relationships that kind of come into bear, like the Smithy and Nessa relationship. Look, it's not my favourite episode either. And there's bits like that church scene. I'd be happy never to watch that again. When the vicar sounds off about sandwiches. It's just weird. But then I didn't go to church when I was young. Maybe vicars do sound off in ridiculous ways.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
In Wales, I don't know.
I kind of liked the mention about reading the bands because, you probably were reading those same novels and they were always going off for reading the bands. And so I still didn't find out what that is. Is that just when they say these two people and they stand up? I don't know. So even that, I was a bit disappointed.
It's intention to wed, isn't it? So I guess it's about, then it's announced, and then if it turns out that they've been married before or something, that gives people 6 weeks or whatever to say, wait a second, this cannot go ahead. In the days before internet, I guess. But I'm sure churches still do it. But
yeah. So
I mean, you think about the novels that we probably read, and if you didn't read the bands, you had to get a special license if you wanted to get married straight away.
Yeah, that's true. That's
dispensation from a bishop or whatever. So,
so what did you think about it in the context of today? Still relevant, do you reckon? Did it stand out at all?
Look, I think it does. I think, young men and women are still going off to those bloody horrible things and getting swept up, and it's just probably a different environment now. You've probably got your Pinterest board and your, wedding planners and all that. But it's huge, this whole wedding industry. It's crazy.
I feel like it's even swung back again. It maybe had a lull, but it's back bigger than ever.
Yeah, because now everyone's curating it online, and it's people like, yes, and all those destination honeymoons, and absolutely. And I, for one, not really here for it. Seems like an enormous waste of money, but that's, being...
Yeah, I know.
Get off my lawn, etc. But, no, so I do think it's, that it does, that's relevant as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. I didn't think there was anything about it that made me think, this is kind of showing its age. What about any character insights or development? Did you pick anything up?
So there were a couple of things that I really liked, and I thought Bryn was very cute in this one with his, his ponderous jokes about Stacey doing housework and the whole getting ready, the Essex thing. You've got the grumpy dad looking at his watch saying it's now 11 minutes past, and then you've got the mum doing the last minute things like, just sign this card that I've got, and that, oh my God, that's so much how our household, Steve just thinks you get in the car and leave. And I'm the one thinking, well, we need our own towels, and I better get, a little housewarming gift for the baby. I love that you can have those moments. And as I was mentioning, Nessa's vulnerability.
Yeah, that was a lovely scene. You mean the one where her and Stacey are talking about Nessa being the bridesmaid?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was lovely, I thought. It
was lovely.
I was a little bit like, I'm not sure if it really rings true completely, but it was still kind of nice because...
So why do you think it doesn't ring true?
Well, only because you just never see her vulnerability, I guess. So it just seemed...
I mean, it's very brief, but I think that she's a lot of front.
Yeah.
Obviously, and a lot of self-belief, but for me it did ring true that, that everyone's... She's probably had to build herself up and say, I don't look like that. I'm going to be magnificent in my own way. But that's not to say those things in the armour aren't there.
Yeah. Look, the only thing I was a little bit disappointed character-wise with the reveal of Mick when he's telling Gavin to lie to Stacey. So Gavin wants a Bentley and he says he can't have it because Stacey wants a horse and carriage. So Mick says, well, just lie to her, which, okay, that's a little bit dodgy. But then he says, I lie to your mother 7 times a day.
Really black lies.
Yeah.
It's not little white lies. Yeah. Why? What's he doing?
And
it's not right.
It seems so out of place, and it doesn't really ring true either from what we've seen, because their relationship is so honest and so authentic. I have felt, and it also doesn't really ring true for what I remember from future episodes. So I didn't like that bit.
No, I didn't like it, and I agree. I think that they had slightly imagined Mick differently in the original writing.
Yeah.
And he just became one of those characters that maybe later they realised, oh, he's not like that. But I guess the other thing is there's the mellowing of age, like maybe Mick as a young man had lied a lot. I don't know. No, you're right. It doesn't make sense. It's not their relationship.
Yeah, and I don't feel like it kind of comes back later. So it didn't really worry me, but I just was a bit, I didn't think that.
I feel like in the first couple of episodes there was a couple of things about, Mick's a man of the world, he's sleazy, it's in the script, but I don't think it's in what comes out on screen and the, it's weird, isn't it?
Like, no,
that's put those words there, but.
Yep. What about, did you have any heartwarming moments?
Oh, look, I did love it when Gavin and Stacey are on the phone at the start, and then she has to remind him that as business associates, his firm owes money. And so they get quite formal with each other and say, I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. I will pay it. And then they, goodbye, Mr. Shipman, goodbye. And then they hang up, and then she calls back and says, I love you. And it's the cutest thing ever.
It is. I love that moment.
Yeah.
I just love her joy. It's so sweet.
And also, like just that scene of Stace and Ness in the bedroom doing their mustache waxing and just having heart to heart. I love that. And I thought the moment with Smithy being overcome at being asked to be best man was actually lovely too. It did mean a lot to him. He loves Gav.
Yep. I thought they were my two favourites too. Those two kind of friendship moments I thought were really lovely. All right. What was your best laugh or your best scene?
Oh, look, this is a hard one. I think there wasn't a huge amount of laughs for me in this one. And part of it's me cringing at the magician and Jammy. I think you're meant to laugh at Matt Lucas, who I love as a comedian, but that Jammy character was just like, no, I don't find that funny when people are that sleazy. I didn't think the chewing gum magician was funny. So the things that I think I was meant to laugh at, or the crazy vicar, I didn't find any of that funny, but I did enjoy the cruise, shag, marry car games, that Gavin being uncomfortable and Pam and Mick just being so into it and just entering wholeheartedly into, Pat Butcher or whatever. And I'm only held back by the fact that I don't know half the people that they name. And I think that probably if you watched it in Britain at the time, you would have gone, oh, yeah, I know who all those people are and why that's funny.
Yeah. That is my favourite scene as well. I really like that. And it's kind of their classic, just everyone's along for the ride and poor Gavin's just there in his little awkwardness. But yeah, the rest of it, no classic moments for me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see if I can get myself a bit more upbeat. Let's do our regular question section where we are testing each other's careful watching of each episode. So did you think of a question for me?
Okay. So Ned thinks she's pregnant very early on, 4 days after she skipped a period. And can you remember how regular the day and how long her periods have been since?
Well, I can, because that's my question. And I not only wrote down my question, I wrote down the answer too.
Okay. Well,
every fourth Wednesday since she was 9.
Yes. Okay. Well, do another one.
Okay.
What band is playing when Smithy is asleep in the bath at the tiling job that he's fallen asleep of?
Oh,
you don't have to name this song.
No, that's a good question. Oh, I don't know. Oh no, as soon as you say it, because it's.
Well, it's kind of cute because it's the Smiths.
Oh, yeah. Of course it is.
I don't know. I can't name the song though, embarrassingly. I'm sure my partner would be able to.
Well, my other question that I wrote down is what can the magician do for Bryn?
I know he was offering to. See, I skipped this on the rewatch because I can't stand that chewing gum. I know he was offering to saw people in half, but when Bryn said, "Can you saw me in half?" I think he got knocked back.
He did. Why did he get knocked back?
I can't remember.
Oh, because the magician says, no, I can't saw uncles in half. And then Bryn says, well, what about if the bride's father is dead? And then the magician goes, yeah, that changes things. I can do that. I guess that was that was funny.
I should have rewatched that. But I just went, no. Yeah. He is, I do enjoy Bryn's naivety.
Yeah, me too.
And just all those jokes that he's going to tell that you can see coming a mile away.
Yep.
But he still tells them and thinks he's so clever for telling them. There's a huge enjoyment to be had out of that.
There is. All right, well, that's the end of the episode, which didn't have any standout moments for me. But I think the episode did what it needed to do. We've kept the wedding momentum going. We've had Nessa's cliffhanger ending that she's pregnant. So I am looking forward to getting on with the next episode.
Yeah.
So I will talk to you then, Cazla.
Yeah, thanks, Tracey. See you next time. Bye.